approach, outbuild, and outplay Summit. This was not normal, and people were taking notice. Soon after the game, Myth would upload a clip of him outplaying Summit to YouTube, and it would quickly become his most viewed video yet. Viewers were in awe at Myth's ability, especially that of his building skill. And with him topping the leaderboards as the player with the most solo PC wins, Myth was certainly making a name for himself amongst the small Fortnite community. And following the video where he would destroy Summit, Myth would upload a series of building tutorials, which would perform far greater than the rest of his YouTube content. There was no doubt in the community that Myth was the best builder in the game, and considering that Fortnite's unique selling point was building, it was a huge title to hold. All of this led to a considerable rise in viewership on Myth's Twitch channel, and for the month of November 2017, he would average 179 concurrent viewers per stream, double that of the last month. The following month of December was when Fortnite really started to pick up pace in terms of popularity, and thanks to Myth's prolonged commitment to the game, his stream would begin to blow up. December 1st, 142 live average viewers. December 2nd, 332 viewers. Myth had doubled his average viewers in just one day, but things would get even better, when once again, Myth would find himself in a Fortnite lobby with Summit. And when the two players would eventually encounter one another, they would have a 1v1 battle that would go down in Fortnite history. Summit would notice a base at the top of a hill. Little did he know Myth was the one waiting inside. Summit then decides to aggressively build upwards towards the base, ready to engage. But instead of Myth sitting idly like the majority of players would, he starts building at incredible speed.
What the f? He keeps building higher. Stop building so high! Stop it! Is this guy a... What? What's happening? What just happened? He built the... He kept building up and building up and building up, and I couldn't catch him. 1,400! How did that man shotgun me down beneath like that? Did you see that?
Good fight, Summit. I like that.
I've never seen that strategy used. I've never seen that strategy. You could tell he's a good player. I've never seen that strategy used where when someone's trying to get into your base, you just keep building up, keep building up, keep building up. That was impressive.
For the second time, Myth had completely outplayed one of the biggest streamers in the world. This kind of building gameplay was not normal, and of all the thousands of viewers in Summit's stream who witnessed the fight, the same question was likely going through their minds. Who is this Myth guy, and how is he so good at the game? And it was no coincidence that soon after this moment, Myth's stream would begin to grow even faster. December 16th, 570 viewers. December 24th, 1,000 viewers. December 26th, 2,000 viewers. December 28th, 3,000 live average viewers. Myth had multiplied his viewers over 20x in the space of 1 month, and whilst many streamers would slow down on streaming over the holidays, he was grinding an average of 10 hours every day. And it was working. As Myth's Twitch was skyrocketing to huge heights, more fuel would be added to the fire when a random viewer would post a clip from Myth's stream that would take the internet by storm. The video was titled "Insane Build Fight, I'm the Myth," and would quickly go viral, gaining over 1 million views. In the clip, Myth could be seen in an intense build battle against another player, a fight that he would go on to win. And whilst in hindsight this gameplay may look underwhelming to the average Fortnite player in 2023, at the time, this kind of building was exceptional and was incomprehensible to the average player who had started playing the game over the holidays. Ending the month with 34,000 followers gained on Twitch and 21,000 more subscribers on YouTube, Myth's rise to fame was in fact only just getting started. And on the 10th of January 2018, he would sign a professional contract with the esports organization TSM, bringing a new level of respect to his name and of course more eyes to his stream. On January 15th, he would post one of his most viral videos yet, where he would get 27 kills in one game, which would quickly amass over 2 million views. And it was no coincidence that, in the week following this upload, Myth's average taking part in Ludwig's highly anticipated Mogul Chess Boxing Championship. The event was held in front of a live audience of 10,000 fans, with more than 500,000 people watching on to gain an extreme amount of attention with over 8 million views, and viewers began to leave their own opinions in the comments. It's simple, his career was based on Fortnite. Myth's career didn't stick the landing. Around this time, Myth decided to try a new style of content on his YouTube channel and would release his first vlog. And it was a hit, with 6 million views vastly eclipsing his other gaming content at the time, a trend that would continue for his following vlog releases that month. This was a huge win for Myth. It's not uncommon for content creators to be carried by the games that they play.
Vince McMahon declined to participate in the documentary you are about to watch.
Earlier tonight, my father, Vince McMahon, retired from WWE.
With those 9 words, Stephanie McMahon stunned the world of professional wrestling.
I don't think anybody would have ever said that Vince McMahon would have ever stepped down.
Everybody figured that he was going to do this until he died.
Welcome to SmackDown!
Over decades, Vince McMahon faced financial ruin.
Vince mortgaged every dime that he had.
Battled ruthless competition.
And now WCW is about to dominate the globe in professional wrestling.
And confronted career-ending scandals.
Speculation is running wild. Did steroids play a role, or is there another explanation?
He can be a tyrant.
The whole thing was an abortive kind of a screw job.
So many scandals.
I don't even know if there would be a wrestling business by the time all the investigations were complete.
Often close to being pinned.
He was down many times.
Vince always kicks out.
In every case, he bounced back.
I've never seen anything like that.
These are the 9 lives of Vince McMahon.
First of all, I resent your tone.
The origin story of the rich and powerful wrestling mogul, Vincent McMahon Jr., begins in a poor, run-down North Carolina trailer park where a tough, mouthy, dyslexic kid named Vinnie Lupton is living with his mom.
There was some kind of a falling out in the marriage, and then he and his brother Rod were left to be raised by their mother Vicky. He kind of had a chip on his shoulder from the beginning.
All most people know from this period of Vince's life comes from his 2001 interview with Playboy magazine.
He alludes to his mother sexually assaulting him. He alludes to being molested when he was 6 by other teenage kids.
There's stories of his mother bringing various different men into their lives. There was in particular Leo Lupton, who was officially Vince's stepfather. He apparently was a very abusive man.
And despite that abuse, or perhaps because of it, Vince develops a ruthlessness that will come to define him.
Vince said that he was upset that Leo Lupton died before he had a chance to kill him, and that he would have really enjoyed being able to do that.
At 12, Vince finally meets his biological father, who happens to be one of wrestling's most successful promoters, Vincent James McMahon, or Vince Sr.
Vincent James McMahon was the most important person in professional wrestling in the northeastern United States.
Here's promoter Vince McMahon's wrestling lineup for this arena next week.
Vince becomes like that storybook teenager who runs away from an evil stepfather to join the circus.
You know, there's stories of Vince hanging out with Dr. Jerry Graham, who is this very flamboyant, kind of over-the-top figure in pro wrestling. Vince would ride down the street in his convertible with him while he was lighting cigars, you know, with $100 bills.
But when Vince starts stealing cars for joyrides and getting into fights, Vince Sr. tries sending him away.
Vince went to Fishburne Military Academy. Legend has it that he got into a lot of trouble.
He claimed that he was the only student there to ever have been court-martialed. I don't know how much truth there is to that, but the story goes that he was an unruly kid and that the military school kind of really had their hands full with him.
Until his mom finds him a girl, as Vince explains in this 1999 TV interview.
My mom had said, you know, you have to come meet this beautiful blue-eyed girl. You know, she sings in the choir, and she's pretty, and you're really going to like her.
Let's see, I think I was 13 years old, and Vince was
16.
Dare I say that you were older? Yes, he was 16.
Vince and Linda married on August 26, 1966. After college, Vince goes looking for a job at his dad's Capital Wrestling Corporation. But Vince says his father again turns him away.
Wanted me to have a more secure future, wanted me to be an accountant or an attorney or something like that, and I really wasn't cut out for any of the above.
He's right. Out on his own, Vince stumbles badly.
He had talked about being a salesman, selling paper cups, things that didn't really thrill him, and not doing very well at it.
Then, for the first of many times, Vince escapes adversity, this time aided by his dad.
They had an announcer named Ray Morgan who was kind of becoming difficult. Vince Sr. hired his son officially as an announcer and also gave him some small towns to promote.
This Monday, a fantastic card of professional wrestling.
Vince, a natural-born huckster, is soon putting those skills to work on all kinds of side hustles.
He was promoting concerts, rock concerts,
and closed-circuit screening of the infamous bout between Muhammad Ali and Japanese wrestler Antonio Inoki.
Looks like I start off fighter. Right, fans?
In 1974, Vince even gets a chance to work with Evel Knievel, learning tricks from that decade's biggest self-promoter.
Vince was one of the promoters of Evel Knievel, Snake River, Canyon Jump.
Vince pays the Daredevil $250,000 for the closed-circuit rights to the jump. Knievel's attempt fails spectacularly. So does Vince. The audience willing to pay for the event turns out to be paltry. Vince loses the entire $250,000. Just a few years later, he and his wife Linda file for bankruptcy. Yet despite his failed ventures away from wrestling, Vince is still convinced that he can expand his father's business.
He really wanted to bring his dad's wrestling company to the next level.
Not as an employee, as the owner of the company.
I knew there was just some way I had to get my hands on this company.
June 6, 1982. It's sort of a red-letter deal. Vince sat down with his father and his father's partner.
The deal was for $1 million.
Vince mortgaged everything he had, every dime that he had.
He bought it on a balloon. He describes it as you pay a little right now and then you pay a lot later.
And if he missed payments, then the ownership would revert back to the original group.
They knew Vince knew the business, and if he failed, he failed. You know, they would get their money anyway.
The message was, if you can't handle this, if it turns out you blow it, we're taking it back.
But there may have been an even bigger reason why Vince Sr. was finally willing to pass the reins.
He had pancreatic cancer, and this may have been one of the motivations for him to sell.
Vince Sr. had spent decades as one of the most revered owners in professional wrestling.
The stories that you hear about Vince Sr. don't revolve around ruthlessness or overly competitiveness. Once he had control in the Northeast, he was satisfied to kind of run that territory and do really well with it.
As for Vince Jr., he will not be so easily satisfied.
My dad would have really sold me the business had he known what I was going to do.
He had a vision to take his father's territory in New York and literally make it the biggest wrestling company, not only in the United States, in the world, to make it global.
Vince Jr. was more willing to take it all and be ruthless.
But first, Vince has to take on his father's old friends, the mostly men running the other wrestling companies across the country.
Every state had a wrestling territory. New York was the WWF, or there was Memphis, there was Georgia, there was Florida, there was Texas.
There was the sense that everybody would respect each other's territory.
And for the most part, promotions all over the US and Canada coexisted, and it was a really thriving industry.
He thought, why do I have to respect these boundaries? Why can't I just start promoting everywhere?
Because doing so threatens the businesses of Vince Sr.'s fellow wrestling promoters.
You had these promoters now going to Vince Sr., they were his old friends, and saying, you have to talk to your son. He's out of control. Are you aware that he's trying to, run us out of our town? So Vince Sr. approached his son at some point, saying, Vinny, you can't do this. And eventually Vince Jr. lost his temper at his dad and said, look, I'm gonna do this with or without you, Dad. I mean, you know, you work for me now. Are you with me or are you against me? Vince Sr. kind of took a moment and thought about it and was quiet and then looked at his son and said, you know what, Vinny, you're right. Those guys.
And he did, by taking from them the thing they needed most.
The talent, they all went for Vince. The talent's gone, and that was it.
Now, either you get out of the way or you compete against another.
Vince injects some competition into the industry, paying wrestlers more than they can dream of under the cozy old system. Then he buys time from local TV stations to promote his shows to sell more tickets. That helps generate the cash he needs to begin buying up struggling territories. As his vision of a national wrestling company comes into focus, the master marketer goes looking for someone to inject show business into the wrestling business.
This man is not a television illusion. He is not an artist's conception. He is not a figment of the imagination. He is the Hulk.
Making his first appearance in this arena, ladies and gentlemen, Hulk Hogan.
Vince is looking for the superhero. He's going national, but it's not going to work unless he has this larger-than-life person.
Hogan was the guy to choose. He had the great look.
I mean, to this day, if you ask somebody on the street to name a professional wrestler, they're probably still going to name Hulk Hogan.
Vince made Hogan just a perfect offer that he couldn't turn down.
And Stone, we're going to put the belt on you. You're going to be our #1 guy.
He came in at the beginning of January 1984, and by the end of the month, he was the WWF World Heavyweight Champion. Really the linchpin to that national expansion. It was Vince and it was Hogan. Neither one of those guys could have done it without the other one.
While Vince is modernizing the wrestling industry, some things in wrestling remain the same. Most territories still practice what's called kayfabe, maintaining the illusion everything's real. But what's not an illusion is the very real threat to Vince's emerging empire. When News Magazine 2020's John Stossel begins investigating kayfabe and whether it's a fraud on wrestling fans.
I was a wrestler in high school, and I was always a little annoyed that some people believed that pro wrestling was real, rather than a scripted event where the winner is preordained and people dress up in funny clothes and pretend anger and bullshit.
It had leaked out that 2020 was going to do a piece, and obviously if it's ABC Network News, it's going to be an expose. I
just thought it was interesting that this big, growing, successful business was based on bullshit. I mean, cleverly done, athletic bullshit, but lies.
Stossel's story could lead to a significant exodus of disillusioned fans, just as Vince has all his capital committed to building the WWF into a national brand.
We either did a survey or found a survey that about a third of the people who attended the events thought it was real.
This is real.
Yeah, I think so, yes.
We couldn't do a story unless we could find some insider who would say, yeah, here's how we faked this and that, and was willing to go into a ring and demonstrate. And eventually we found Eddie Mansfield.
Mansfield is a wrestler with a cause, publicizing the vulnerability of WWF wrestlers who have no health benefits or pensions. He hopes a story on 2020 will raise awareness to the plight of fellow pro wrestlers, so he agrees to spill some secrets.
Is this real wrestling?
No, not real, no, not at all. I mean, if somebody believed that, they'd be stupid.
Nobody wanted fake blood, so everybody bled for real. There's two ways to do that, the easy way and the hard way. The easy way is with a blade.
You go just like that.
And then gradually during the match, it would drip down over your face.
That's it. See, if I was sweating, it'd pour.
I thought, well, we need to have the usual person from the professional organization saying, oh, this isn't fake, this is all real. And so we went to Madison Square Garden. I guess Vince McMahon okayed it, or we wouldn't have been there.
Vince wants to send Stossel a message, so he tells wrestler David Schultz to maintain kayfabe and treat Stossel like any other opponent.
Vince said, listen, we got a guy out here making a joke out of the business.
Vince wanted me to tear his ass up, wanted me to blast him, stay in character.
Vince denies telling Schultz to assault Stossel and disowns any involvement in what happened next.
And then Schultz came out. He was a little frightening.
Is this a good business?
Yeah, it's a good business. I wouldn't be in it if it wasn't.
Why is it a good business?
Because only the tough survive. That's the reason you ain't in it. And this punk holding the camera reading he ain't in it. Reading these rednecks out here ain't in it because it's a tough business.
I think this is fake.
I think it's fake. Now I'm thinking, Vince wanted me to stay in character. Dr. D slapped the hell out of somebody say that.
You think it's fake? What's that? Is that fake?
Holy shit, what the hell just happened here? And then I stupidly got up again.
Huh? What the hell's wrong with you? That's open hand slap, huh?
I was always taught, man, get up, you gotta knock him back down.
You think it's fake?
He whacked me in the other ear. My ears were ringing.
What do you mean?